"We have arrived in Earth's orbit," announced Lieutenant Cyrillus, her voice echoing across the bridge of the emissary-class cruiser Vardakar. Through the massive viewing panel, Earth shone like a sapphire swirled with clouds, revealing the planet that had become legendary across the galaxy for its uncanny phenomenon. Regions of wild gravitational shifts, ion storms, and pockets of swirling temporal currents, these anomalies, once considered formidable perils, were now rumored to serve as the ultimate training grounds for the bravest fighters. Elder Commander Ravin, an austere yet resolute leader from a distant star system, gazed upon Earth with cautious respect. The stories say Earth's environment compresses an entire lifetime of struggle into every moment of training. The recruits who survive these trials emerge unstoppable, Ravin said, his tone laced with quiet awe. We came here seeking that crucible. No one challenged his words. Everyone knew that if you wanted the best warriors, you journeyed to Earth. Over centuries, different species had tried to replicate the planet's bizarre anomalies in off-world training facilities, but each attempt yielded only pale imitations. Earth's original phenomena remained impossible to fully duplicate. As the Vardakar descended through the atmosphere, the swirling azure parted to reveal pockets of storm-lashed skies and floating shards of rock that radiated faint white glows. The gravitational anomalies in these areas made Earth's terrain shift unpredictably. Steep mountains rose and fell within weeks, canyons formed overnight, and strange auroras danced across the sky at all times of day. Through the windows, the crew could see broken fragments of land twisting in the air, colliding and fracturing in mid-flight. Lightning forked between them. Lieutenant Cyrillus deftly guided the cruiser to a rocky plateau that jutted over a valley. The ship settled with a deafening clank, powerful thrusters kicking up swirls of red dust. The main ramp lowered, revealing gusts of arid wind and crackling static from a nearby ion disturbance. Elder Commander Ravin led the recruits down the ramp. They were a diverse assemblage. Tall, sleek Anthorians with their triple-jointed limbs, sturdily built Scifi who possessed thick horns and tough hides, smaller but agile humans who claimed ancestry from Earth's own survivors, and even a light insectoid pair from the distant Nissian star cluster. Each was a volunteer, prepared to endure the rigors of Earth's anomalies and to become the strongest warriors the galaxy had ever known. A figure waited at the edge of the plateau, dust swirling around them in the unnatural wind. They wore a patchwork set of armor etched with alien runes. When they turned, their eyes glinted with the unmistakable resolve of someone who had survived this planet's harshest trials. "I am Captain Naida," the figure said, voice carrying easily despite the roaring wind. "My father mastered these lands before me. I was born in the wastes of Azrina, where gravity shifts so quickly that stepping on the wrong patch of ground can fling you into orbit. I've been training off-worlders for 20 years. Some left Earth stronger than they could have imagined. Others were claimed by the anomalies. You say you're ready? Follow me." Naida's words sent a chill through the recruits. Even the bravest among them felt the magnitude of what lay ahead. The recruits followed her down a steep path that angled into the canyon below the plateau. Each step brought them closer to swirling pockets of unstable air that shimmered like translucent domes. Millennia before, these zones had spelled doom for Earth's inhabitants. Then, survivors turned them into proving grounds. Soon, the recruits reached a towering stone arch bridging a narrow gorge, which vibrated with energy. Naida gestured. "On the other side are the fractured fields. We start there. Keep your senses sharp. The environment changes with little warning." One by one, they filed through the arch. Once on the other side, the recruits gasped. The terrain looked like a mosaic. Patches of farmland gave way to desert dunes, which merged with black volcanic rock. Above them, shimmering lines of atmospheric distortion rippled across the sky, occasionally spiking with forks of pink lightning. The first lesson, situational adaptation, Naida said. No matter how strong you are, if you can't adapt to sudden changes, Earth will devour you. She paused, letting the recruits examine their surroundings. We will begin with a 3-day march. If we survive, we'll continue. Some recruits bristled at the simplicity of the task, but those who knew Earth understood that a simple march here was anything but. The group proceeded across the fractured fields, encountering abrupt shifts in gravity that turned steps into leaps and then crushed them back to the ground seconds later. One moment it was blistering heat, the next a sub-zero freeze. Random pockets of swirling magnetism tugged at their armor and gear. The Raleighs, struggling under the weight of her equipment, fell behind. One of the Scifi, a hulking figure named Thrarix, hoisted her up with a grunt. We have to watch each other. This place is not gentle, he rumbled, eyes scanning the shifting horizon. As day progressed into night, some recruits slipped into crevasses that emerged in the ground, only to be rescued by teammates throwing lines or grappling hooks. Others found themselves battered by gusts of superheated air. The group's resolve was tested, but they pressed on. When dawn came, they saw that they had only covered half the distance they'd planned. Beyond them lay a looming forest of twisted trees whose limbs glowed faintly. Naida called the group to rest. Spread out, make camp. We'll tackle that forest at dusk. It's more stable during the cooler hours, she said. But be wary, these nights can be as fierce as any day. While they rested, the recruits began to understand what Earth's anomalies demanded of them. Physical strength alone was insufficient. A warrior needed a sharp mind and a flexible spirit, able to quickly read the environment. The synergy among the recruits grew as they realized that no one, no matter how skilled, could survive alone. At dusk, they proceeded into the glowing forest. Bioluminescent leaves swung overhead, and the twisted trunks bristled with needle-like bark. Strange electromagnetic surges flickered between the branches, creating illusions of creatures darting through the undergrowth. Some illusions frightened them into quick draws of blasters, while others compelled them forward with mesmerizing lights. Before long, they encountered their first apex predator of the forest, an immense cat-like creature, fur crackling with static electricity. It prowled across the glowing trunks with silent grace. It locked eyes with one of the recruits, a Ganthorian named Mavar. With a thunderous pounce, the creature attacked. Mavar responded with swift, well-practiced moves, but Earth's gravitational shift wrenched him upward, throwing off his timing. The creature's claws raked his arm, sending up sparks. He teetered, nearly falling deeper into the forest, but Thrarix charged forward with a roar, slamming his horned head into the predator. The beast staggered. Naida swiftly hurled a short pike that crackled with an electromagnetic charge. It landed perfectly, delivering a final blow. The creature collapsed, and arcs of static flickered across the ground. The recruits stared at the lifeless predator, hearts pounding. It was a sobering reminder that no single vantage point on Earth was ever truly safe. Throughout the night, illusions spurred them into near catastrophes. Phantom shapes lured them toward quicksand pools, while the forest would rearrange itself with each electromagnetic pulse. Morning brought them exhausted but alive to the forest's edge. There, they collapsed on a patch of ground that flickered with faint blue luminescence once the sun peeked over the horizon. Day 2, Naida announced. We head to the gravity canyons. We'll arrive by midday if these storms don't force us off course. The recruits groaned but obeyed. They set out again. Each mile was a challenge. The ground shifted as if animated by its own will. At times they saw illusions of entire armies marching across the horizon, only to vanish moments later, leaving behind eerie silence. As they trudged ever forward, the group found themselves at the rim of a canyon that dropped so far below that the bottom looked lost in violet haze. Lightning glimmered along the canyon walls, dancing in rhythmic pulses. Within the canyon's depths, gravity was said to invert and intensify at random intervals. Rocks floated upward or smashed down unpredictably. Nida surveyed the canyon from a precarious ledge, then turned to the recruits. "We'll descend using the berg cables," she said, pointing to thick, braided lines anchored into the cliff face. "Watch the signals. When the lights turn green, the gravity waves should be stable enough to lower ourselves. When the signals flash red, brace yourselves for an inversion." Descending into the canyon tested not just strength, but nerve. Mivar, his arm bandaged, moved cautiously, mindful of how the gravitational pulses had ruined his timing earlier. Surpassed kept a watchful eye on the Colican's signals. Twice, the group had to clamp onto the cables for dear life when the lights went red, and the floor seemed to spin upward, while the air turned crushingly dense. Eventually they reached a plateau halfway down the canyon, where they spotted large metallic pylons. An entire research station abandoned centuries ago clung to the canyon wall, the metal corroded by centuries of storms. Still, the flickering lights from some compartments testified to a partially functioning power source. In search of shelter, Nida led them inside. The ancient corridors smelled of dust and rust. Walls hummed with residual energy. Legend says this station once studied Earth's gravitational anomalies. "Many scientists lost their lives here," Nida said quietly, noticing a half-rusted plaque set into the wall. The inscription, though faded, still bore the name of a groundbreaking coalition that once sought to harness Earth's powers. As they ventured deeper, they found remnants of advanced technology. Broken stasis pods lined a corridor, their surfaces etched with cryptic notes about gravitational waves and neural enhancements. Farther on, in a large chamber, a computer console flickered weakly. Nida's eyes lit with curiosity. She knelt, tapping a few keys. "It's on emergency power," she said. A hologram sputtered to life, revealing a weary human scientist from ages past. The projection repeated words in a loop. "To any who find this, the anomalies are unstoppable. But we endured. We adapted. Our training programs might save you and shape the ultimate defenders. This planet remains the final crucible." The hologram fizzled out. No new knowledge about controlling the anomalies emerged, but the message ratified what everyone already knew. The planet was unmatched as a forge for extraordinary combatants. After resting briefly, the group departed the station and continued their descent. At the bottom of the canyon, gravity compressed them like a colossal hand. Even taking a few steps required total concentration. Those who tried to cross too hastily crumpled to their knees, the crushing weight hammering their chests. A few recruits struggled to breathe, eyes wide with panic. Only by bracing themselves, shifting posture, and carefully synchronizing their movements with the gravity pulses were they able to stagger forward. Nida led them to a series of natural rock bridges where they honed advanced balancing skills. A single tremor could fling them into the swirling violet void below. Yet each successive crossing, each adaptation transformed them. Muscles adjusted, reflexes sharpened, minds became more focused. Night fell once again. The recruits set up a makeshift camp on a rocky outcrop, sheltered from howling winds by a protruding boulder. A hush fell over the canyon, broken only by the occasional rumble from deep below. In the flickering firelight, the recruits exchanged stories of home. Mivar, the three-armed Ganthorian, spoke of his clan's warrior tradition. Thararix recounted legends of the Scifi, who believed that Earth's anomalies were echoes of the universe's first creation. Surpassed described her childhood on a starship, dreaming of one day facing Earth's famous challenges. Elder Commander Raven, who had been quietly observing all day, finally spoke. "These experiences, these ordeals, they show us who we truly are. We came here to challenge our limits, but what we find is a bond that runs deeper than any single test. Earth breaks the unprepared, but for those who find unity, it forges something unbreakable." Dawn arrived swiftly, and with it came the final and greatest trial. Beyond the canyon lay the Iron Tempest Plains, known for storms that merged electricity, magnetism, and swirling dust into massive pillars that devoured anything in their path. Nida stood at the canyon's edge, scanning the horizon. To truly earn your stripes here, you must be able to move through the Tempest Plains, reach the old citadel in the center, and endure the largest storm. If you survive, you'll qualify as Earth-forged warriors. The recruits stared into the distance. Jagged bursts of lightning arced from roiling clouds to the ground. The tempest advanced like an unstoppable army. Though some hearts pounded with fear, a collective determination arose. They had come too far to retreat. Leading the way, Nighty guided them out of the canyon. The air crackled with energy, each breath tasting like ozone. They stepped onto the plains, dust swirling around their boots. Within minutes, the horizon darkened. Purple storms crept rapidly across the sky, swirling pillars of dust filled with flashing arcs of electricity. The recruits hurried, scanning the environment for any cover. When the first wave of storms hit, the noise was deafening. The wind howled, full of scorching sparks. Thrarix bellowed instructions to hold their formation. Mivar used his 3 arms to anchor multiple cables into the ground and secure them to his teammates. Naida shouted guidance on how to ground themselves and avoid the deadliest bolts of lightning. Despite these measures, chaos ensued. A swirling funnel of charged dust slammed into their flank, knocking several recruits off their feet. They scrambled to regain footing on the shifting ground. Saralis shielded her face from blasts of superheated debris, while one of the insectoid Nishans clung to Thrarix. The swirling vortex flung obstacles their way. Jagged metallic shards, broken pieces of ancient vehicles, even large boulders that had been ripped from the ground. The group pressed on, step by agonizing step. They were guided by the occasional flashes of the old citadel's spire, barely visible through the maelstrom. Thunder tore at their ears, and arcs of lightning lit the dusty air in ephemeral neon webs. Twice, they had to dive behind crumpled wreckage to avoid a surge of electricity that sizzled across the plains like a rolling wave. As they neared the citadel, the storms intensified. A relentless gale threatened to tear them apart. The recruits leaned into the wind, arms linked, grit etched on every face. Violence grew, matching the very heartbeat of Earth's chaotic nature. Finally, they reached the vast rusted gates of the citadel. The structure had stood for centuries as a monument to humanity's will to endure. Its walls, pocked by ancient battles, still rose above the seething storm like a sentinel, defying Earth's fury. With great effort, Nida pushed open the gates. Inside, debris lay scattered everywhere. Broken pillars, collapsed balconies, and shattered windows gave testimony to centuries of strife. No respite awaited. The final wave of the tempest was converging on the citadel. Naida shouted, "Brace yourselves! We hold here until the storm passes. This is the apex of the Ion Tempest. If we can withstand it, we succeed." Lightning hammered the citadel's walls. The wind howled down corridors, flinging broken shards of glass. The recruits took shelter beneath what remained of a vaulted ceiling, forming a defensive circle. Some used scrap metal as makeshift shields to deflect flying debris. Others concentrated on channeling the planet's pulse. They synchronized their breathing with a deep rumble of thunder, searching for an internal calm amid the turbulence. The next bolt tore through a section of the roof, sending chunks of stone crashing down. With quick reflexes, Thrarix caught a falling beam before it could crush 2 recruits. Saralis lunged forward, dragging them to safety. Another lightning bolt struck a crumbling pillar. Shards of heated rock sprayed the group, one piece slicing across Mivar's cheek. He winced but remained focused. Storm after storm hammered the citadel, each wave feeling like an entire cosmic assault. The wind rose to a shriek. Ionized plasma crackled through the air, dancing around them in serpentine ribbons. Exhaustion weighed heavily on their limbs, yet they fought to remain alert, drawing on every reserve of mental and physical strength. Minutes stretched into hours, but they endured. Finally, a scintillating flash lit the entire citadel as the largest arc of lightning yet struck the central spire. The heavens rumbled in a deafening crescendo. Then everything went almost eerily quiet. The swirling dust began to settle, and the anger of the sky diminished. The ion tempest eased, leaving behind only the heavy hush of aftermath. In the pale light of dawn, the recruits looked around, blinking tired eyes. The citadel, battered as it was, still stood. They themselves, though bruised and spent, were very much alive. Nida exhaled a shaky breath, then surveyed the group with a proud nod. "You did it," she said. "You have survived Earth's ultimate trial." In that silence, the recruits stood together, dust clinging to sweat-stained faces and battered armor. Strangers from disparate worlds, they were now unified by an unbreakable bond, shaped by Earth's fury. They emerged from the citadel overlooking the plains. Where the storms had raged, the ground was scorched into curious, swirling patterns. Patches of luminous crystals glowed in the dawn. In the distance, the canyon from which they had come stretched like a deep scar across the land. Above, the sky shifted from bruised purple to a gentle pink. Every breath they took felt like a triumph. Elder Commander Raven addressed them. "No one can deny your courage. You have each earned the right to call yourselves Earth-forged. The galaxy will hear your names and tremble at your resolve. But never forget who you are now. A collective, tempered by this planet's crucible." Nida smiled faintly. "There is a tradition for new Earth-forged warriors, a final ring in the Highlands where you demonstrate everything you've learned. But that's only if you wish to stay. Many are eager to share the knowledge, and yes, the unshakable discipline they gained here with their people across the stars. Some recruits were eager to return home to demonstrate their newfound prowess. Others yearned for one last challenge. As the group prepared to part ways, they looked to Nida, who had guided them on this journey. She offered a solemn vow. "Your time here will echo beyond Earth. In any corner of the galaxy, once you've survived these anomalies, there's little that can stand against you." In the days that followed, news spread. A new wave of unstoppable warriors was returning from Earth. Some were said to be able to move at lightning speed when gravity shifted randomly, to sense illusions before they formed, and to withstand punishing environmental extremes with ease. Rumors circulated that they possessed an inner calm as unshakable as any fortress, empowered by the hardest trials any planet could offer. Back aboard the Vardakar, the recruits, now graduates of Earth's secret crucible, shared tearful farewells with Captain Nida. She stayed behind on Earth, ready to welcome the next wave seeking the ultimate test. As the cruiser launched into the sky, final glimpses of the fractured planet filled the viewports. The mesmerizing interplay of swirling dust, glowing forests, and roiling storms reminded them how close they had come to perishing, and how that very danger had kindled incredible strength within them. Once the Vardakar cleared Earth's atmosphere, Rothveen walked through the corridors, stopping by each recruit to offer a few words of respect. When he reached Seralis, she stood gazing out a window at the receding planet, face still marred with dust. "I didn't think I would make it," she admitted, voice trembling as she recalled the punishing trials. "But the planet itself forced me to adapt, to embrace even the most daunting challenges." Rothveen nodded. "Earth refines what we already are. You once feared your limits. Now, you know you have none." He rested a hand gently on her shoulder. "When we return to our home worlds, we will be tested again, by war, by conflict, by political strife. But remain true to the lessons we learned, and these obstacles will fade. We are now the protectors of a larger ideal. Let that guide you." In solemn reflection, Seralis closed her eyes, replaying the memory of battling storms, illusions, gravity shifts, and monstrous predators. She remembered struggling in the canyon, the terror of the unstoppable ion tempests, and the humbling realization of how much she relied on her comrades. That synergy had saved her life more than once. She opened her eyes again, calm and resolute. "I won't forget," she whispered. The Vardakar set course for deep space, carrying with it a cohort of warriors whose experiences surpassed any known hadron-based simulation or high-tech training regime. The galaxy stood on the precipice of new turmoil. Conflicts among major star nations threatened to erupt, fractious alliances teetered, and rogue powers sought dominion. Yet the recruits were no longer the novices who first set foot on Earth. Armed with a rare combination of battle-hardened skill and unyielding will, they were ready to defend what they held dear. In far reaches of the cosmos, rumors already spread among potential enemies that an elite band had left Earth, molded by living storms and twisted landscapes. Many dreaded crossing their path. Others, driven by ambition, found renewed reason to attempt Earth's trials themselves. But the violent splendor of Earth could not be tamed easily, nor would its lessons be gleaned without risking one's life. Within days, the recruits arrived in Allied Coalition space, greeted with celebration and awe. Regal banquets were held on gleaming capital ships. Admirals and planetary governors commended their bravery, and entire fleets gave them honorary salutes. Thrarix returned to Scifi territory, welcomed by throngs who roared their admiration. Mavar's clan recognized him as a champion for having conquered the legendary planet. Suralis, once a mere lieutenant, was promoted to Earth-forged captain, an honor that ensured her immediate respect in every starport. And so they spread across the galaxy, each forging a separate path, yet linked by a bond that could not be severed. Wherever they traveled, they carried echoes of Earth's anomalies within them, an unrelenting spirit of adaptation, a vigilance forged in desperate survival, and an empathy born of standing together against a planet that cared for none of them, yet gifted them its greatest trial. In time, Aida would greet future arrivals to Earth. The planet itself would continue its eternal dance of storms and illusions, reshaping terrain under the watchful eyes of those who dared train there. Word of the newly anointed warriors fanned the flames of curiosity, and recruits came in droves from distant star systems, seeking the same forging process. Thus, Earth's legacy grew, from a planet scarred by anomalies into a sanctuary of unstoppable champions. As years passed, countless stories emerged, each describing how Earth's trials had transformed mere aspirants into legends. Some champions dedicated their lives to safeguard entire galaxies from existential threats. Others rose in the ranks of their people, counseling unity in times of strife. And those who returned to Earth for the final ring in the Highlands discovered that, though they had grown mightier, the planet had found new ways to challenge them. For Earth was not a static realm. Its anomalies followed no predictable path. They grew, shifted, faded, and reawakened in new regions. Sometimes the old trials vanished as fresh ones emerged. Even the most seasoned Earth-forged warriors approached each new challenge warily, for pride had destroyed many. Only those who remained humble, prepared to learn anew, survived to carry their knowledge beyond the stars. Through it all, the message held steadfast. Earth did not merely train warriors, it remade them. From storms that hammered flesh until only willpower remained, to illusions that tested mental fortitude, to twisted pockets of reality that demanded perfect adaptability, the planet was a crucible unmatched in the cosmos. In the end, those who survived did indeed surpass all others. And so, under the endless tapestry of cosmic night, with starlight glittering on the hulls of ships that ventured to Earth and beyond, the galaxy learned of the unstoppable Legion. Born of many species, bound by one shared triumph, these warriors stood on the precipice of legend, hand in hand with a living planet that tested the bravest souls. For in the forging fires of Earth, they discovered not merely the limits of their strength, but the unwavering truth that together no anomaly, no matter how alien or impossible, could ever truly claim them. They had faced Earth's fury and emerged victorious, prepared to stand resolute wherever the winds of fate might blow, guardians of a galaxy always in search of hope.